you'll be able to go back into the Be the Pause Facebook group and watch it in the guide section. So rest assured that will happen. All right, we've got Dallas in the house. We got NYC in the house. I mentioned San Francisco, so we're definitely coast to coast here. Hi. And we only have 30 minutes, so we're going to jump right in. So first of all, if you are here and you got the memo to join the Impactful Leaders class, you are so in the right place. Just type in right place in the chat, because I'm all about engagement, and the folks who actually do the best in this masterclass are the ones who lean in, literally leaning into the camera and engaging. That's how we learn and apply what we know in quicker, more accelerated ways. It's called accelerated learning for a reason. And I am a big fan because it helps us retain that knowledge even more. So we're going to get right into it. Can everyone see my screen as well? I want to say yes, because I can see it. But if not, let me know. I wanted to start with Socrates, one of my favorite thought leaders in philosophy. The secret of change is to focus all of your energy, not on fighting the old, keyword fighting, but on building the new or creating the new. And I think that's a lot about what we're doing in this masterclass, including impact. We have a workbook. So let me put this in the chat. You can also see the link there. But the link is, it looks like this. So you'll be prompted to make a copy, and you can go ahead and do that. So the link is bit.ly/pause-workbook. Go ahead and click on that. You can make your own copy immediately. You're going to be able to fill this in as we go. And quick fun tip, if you see this icon, the pencil, it means there's an action item for you or something to do in the workbook. And again, it's another tool. You can have a notebook in front of you if that's better. But I actually think this is really good, as we're going to be talking about a lot of things and getting right into this first day, which is how to navigate negativity. Awesome. All right. So if it's your first time here, type first time. If not, just say hello. And we're going to go ahead and get started. For those of you who are brand new, one of my favorite tools is working with vision. So just really quickly here, close your eyes for a moment. Because even though no matter how busy we are, we can always have and create space, by the way. That's what I call a pause for vision. Closing your eyes, just taking a breath here. What's your vision for yourself as a leader and an impactful leader here? Maybe a word pops up for you, a phrase. Maybe it's badass. Maybe it's engaged. Maybe it's caring. And put that in the chat or put that into the workbook. Open your eyes if they were closed. Sometimes when we set a vision for ourselves, it's so much more easier to move forward. All right, so here's our learning agreements for today, just making sure we're all on the same page. We are in a safe space. So this is it. And everything you say in our masterclass stays in our masterclass. And I just want to get agreement on that. So if you're here, just type in "I agree" into the chat there. But basically, we're all together and we are using our collective brain. We're using our mind together and also applying this to ourselves. And the results that are going to be yours will be based on whatever you walk away with, but knowing like this is our container. And I just say that because I want you to feel like you are in a container that is sacred and really for you, and that we are here all together learning. And I'm just so honored to be here with you today, right? So the best thing is to get the most out of this training is knowing these are here. Remember, there's a workbook. Please ask questions. So type into the chat if you'd like to do that. And we're having a contest. Woohoo! So I'm announcing this right now. We didn't have any plans. You didn't see anything about this because I decided that this is exciting. So we're going to have a contest. How this works every day is there's going to be a link in the Be the Pause Facebook group. So if you're not in there already, please join. This is what it looks like. And those posts will be in there for a particular action that we'll have at the end of the day. Every day I'll pick a winner. So tomorrow morning at our time, I'll announce the day one winner. And I'll explain what this is at the end. And then to play all in for 3 days, you're qualified for the grand prize, which is a $1,500 gift towards my coaching programs. Woo! And there's also $5,000 worth of bonuses that you would get with that. And I mean, it's pretty good. So I'm excited to participate with all of you in this contest. All right. And for those of you who don't know me, some of you know me, I'm Rachel O'Mara. I'm based here in San Francisco. I wrote a book called Pause based on my burnout of Google, and learned a few things that I believe really helped others, helped myself, and then helped others with their corporate leader lives. And the real big nut summary of this is that I realized I burned out because things weren't going well and I was getting that feedback, but I really wasn't present. I wasn't present in my own body to be thinking and being like, how am I doing right now, or feeling things. And that's why, to me, emotional intelligence is such an important part of this role for being really engaged and successful with impact. I was either thinking about the future all the time or the past, and just never right here, right now. And I lost myself, if that makes sense. I felt lost. I felt drained. I felt fear. I couldn't even integrate anything I was doing in terms of feeling okay, because I just wanted to run away all the time and be like, I can't believe this is happening to me, because I was a high achiever, like probably everyone here. And I had made everything work up until that point where I could do what I needed to do and, live in New York or San Francisco, or be a rowing national champion, or get an MBA, or own a house, or whatever it was. And for whatever reason, this wasn't working. And so now this is what I do. I help other leaders who are struggling with feeling stuck or feeling lost and not sustained, to reclaim their lives and to be better leaders through this power of what I would say is emotional wealth, emotional intelligence, that is the number one skill needed in why we're not as impactful as we could, I truly believe. So first question for you, what's your number one challenge when it comes to sustaining yourself right now? Just type it into the chat. What's your biggest challenge right now? Like what, and this can change over time, but maybe it's for you, it's eating well. It might be boundaries, setting boundaries. Just go ahead and just put in there like what comes up for you, and just the first thing you think of. It doesn't have to be anything long. I know for me, it's sleep. Sometimes I wake up in the night, so I'm like, how can I sleep better? So I'm taking actions for that, and things like blue light glasses and things like that. Because I think it's really important to name your biggest challenge, because how do we know what to shift? How do we know what to do differently? And if we don't have that, then it's hard to do that. Cool. Yeah. Time and sleep. Thank you for sharing. So I'm curious for all of you here, like we've got a couple images on the screen. Who is feeling a little stressed right now? Like put in there and like just raise your hand up high if you're on the video. Otherwise, just type in, me in the chat. I think we're not making the impact we can. And if you're here, my guess is you're impactful, but you're not doing what you are capable of. It's feeling disempowered. And we're on the roller coaster of life. I was just talking about this morning with a CEO client who's the highs and the lows. They're all here. They're for us. As my former mentor would say, when we're in this distressed mode, it's not very empowering, is it? Like just looking at this photo, no. So how do you make the impact you desire and feel disempowered? Can you? I don't think so. I think we really need to be embodying empowerment to make the impact, because otherwise we're not inauthentic. We're inauthentic because we're like pretending or faking that we're empowering, and other people can pick up on that. So if we're not convinced, how could anyone else feel and be convinced? I don't think so. My mentor would say pain is mandatory, suffering is optional. So if you're in the ruminating mode and like the looped thinking mode, lower cycle thinking, as I call it, where you're like, oh, why me? Like, I don't know why this is here. I'm in this job. I just need the money, I don't know, whatever it is for you. Guess what? That's suffering. That doesn't need to happen. Those choices we can do differently with our mind. And that's what we're talking about today. So here's what we're talking about. And I think today, as you can see, navigating uncertainty is where we're at. And overall, you'll hear me say this every day because I want to really hit it home. The fastest and best way to being an impactful leader is mastering your EQ, is mastering what we're doing in all of this, which is emotional intelligence. And we're going to get into those details a little bit today. And that's what this masterclass is all about. I want to preface that with the definition of a pause that I call a pause. And again, I wrote the book, you can see it behind me. Pausing is an intentional shift in behavior. So just say that out loud right now, or put it into the chat. Like, what is a pause? An intentional shift in behavior. If you think of the word pause, and I don't know if anyone here has seen my TEDx talk, but I talk about this here, where it seems like this word is very docile, right? Where it's very friendly, and we think of like kicking back on the sofa, maybe watching Netflix or something. But here's the deal. The number one issue I see in corporate leadership is when we're trying to solve a problem, like whatever is on your plate, there's a resistance to pausing. Okay, who's with me on this? Like I am. I know this is like the normal way to think. So you resist it. What do? What you put in more hours, you work more at night, you work on the weekends, you kind of open your laptop and check your email or your phone. It's almost like working at the traffic lights, right? Like when you're if I don't know if anyone's here, like stops at the lights, checks your messages, and then you go again or something, right? But it's like, that's a stop, go, start, go mentality. And that doesn't work, right? So in 2021 and now 2023, 1 out of 3 individuals are experiencing burnout. It's not changing anytime soon. So my sense is we got to think of the word pausing as active. It's not passive, it's intentional. That's all it is. All right. So when you think about it like that, does it really seem like that might not work? Well, we'll go into that on the research side today, where we notice that people who pause actually are more productive, and that's a lot about tomorrow. But what creates more impact? Here's a couple ways. Just check out this slide. What resonates with you? Because the key is, whether it's intention or having more, going with a vision, feeling aligned, it all leads back to you, and you are in control of these. That's what's so exciting, right? A lot of times we think we're not in control, but all of this happens and kind of falls into place. Well, it's intentionally falling into place, I would say, as you master your own skills. All right, so just take a deep breath with me here before we jump into this first secret. Okay, and type into the chat, like, what are you getting so far out of this? We've kind of breezed through just not even too much, but we're halfway through today. And before we jump into the meaty side of things, I'm curious what really stands out for you so far. Maybe it's knowing your vision, or what a pause is, or what it creates impact. I don't know. What is it for you? And this is us engaging again, so we can keep going with these definitely awesome concepts. Okay, so let's dive into secret number 1. Impactful leaders know. All right, what do they know? Well, navigating uncertainty and negativity definitely trips us up. It's not helpful, and we've all seen this, right? So think of the last time you were stuck in the negativity loop, meaning our brain was kind of fired and wired up for thinking the worst case scenario, or just not feeling even neutral about something, but just maybe expecting the worst, right? That's kind of maybe a pattern or something like that. In what ways do you experience uncertainty or negativity? Like, what is that for you? And if anyone wants to share, please put it into the chat. A brave person out there, right? Where we can kind of think about this. Remember, if we don't know where we are, it's hard to change things. So sometimes we stay in this space. We just think that's the norm, and our brains are telling us it's the norm. Our limiting beliefs, the unconscious beliefs that we all have that drive everything in our life, get the best of us. All right. So just thinking about this in a different way. I'd love you to think about this. Yeah, thanks for the comments. I love it. Time, staying organized, just getting going. Uncertainty and negativity are demotivating. Yeah, who feels like that? Thank you for sharing. Demotivating indeed. And so the key is you have a choice to successfully get out of there. And let me ask you this, like, what return on investment would you have if you learned how to navigate the negativity, to get out of that in a snap and do something more empowering for you? Think about the impact that might have on your day, on your relationships, your business world, your relationship world, decision-making, clarity, purpose, like all of this motivation, because that is what happens as we master this EQ. We keep that going, but we have to know we can change it. That's a big one. And we are wired and hardwired for overwhelm and negativity. And like, just tell me in the chat if you already knew this. Just put no, like I know this. Put it in the chat, because I think it's always a good refresher, because I've got a couple images up here. I want to walk you through what this means, right? So step 1, knowing that we're wired our primal brain is in full effect, right? The reptilian brain, that's our brain stem, and our brain is wired and programmed to scan for threats. So type into the chat, I'm scanning for threats. We're scanning for threats all the time, right? Like maybe the camera's not on because you don't want to you want to be protected, right? Like maybe you are avoiding a conversation because that feels threatening to you. It's all over the place. But if we know that our brain is primal for that, because that's how we survive, that's how we got here, then we know that that is the norm. And it makes sense. We are physiologically designed to protect ourselves. But is that the best way to make impact? Is that the best way to go out and about in our business? Maybe sometimes, but most likely there's other options that are going to be better for us, including how to neutralize those thoughts or even be in a positive light where we can feel more empowered. Because what happens, how do you feel when you're feeling negative? Like, think about the last time you interacted with someone else who was in a bad mood or felt like they were threatened in some way, didn't feel safe. Is that pleasant? Is that engage? Like, do you feel like you want to be around that person a lot? I don't know about you, but I don't, because it doesn't feel good and it's contagious, right? So our emotions are contagious. And so we have to be careful that we know that we can do something different. But the key is to know, as I said. So we have to do that. And the cool part is we can all learn this, you guys. This is like the most exciting part. So there's a question that I love to ask myself, which is about, like negativity bias. So when I catch myself in this, and you can do this too, know that it's not it's not the where you need to stay, but this is the effort. This is the conscious intention and the pause to do something different. Loss aversion is alive and well. Who knows what loss aversion is? Anyone hear of loss aversion or know what that is? This is Nobel Prize winning research, by the way, and maybe you know the names Avery Tversky or Daniel Kahneman. They wrote a book together, and it was all about loss aversion. But basically, this is economically based, but I think applies to us in that it refers to our tendency to prefer getting a loss versus acquiring equivalent gains. In other words, it's better not to lose $5 than to find $5. Okay, so this is everywhere. It's in the media, right? Like landslide, like media headlines that are pejorative, that are negative, that are all about like scarcity. That would be what loss aversion is, right? Like we can't possibly shift the system because, man, that would be impossible. I'm thinking about politics, right? The election was yesterday here in the US. But this is also impacting our mental state because this is kind of what we're wired for. Expecting cognitive distortions is a really big one as well. So who knows what a cognitive distortion is? If you go to the workbook, you'll notice the pencils here. Cognitive distortions are really just our favorite ways that we are thinking negative. These are the top 10 lists that are based from a psychology researcher on depression that came out in 1980, but now they're kind of known as the standard 10 distortions. All it means is you're not thinking objectively, you're thinking subjectively. So you can see here, and these are in your workbook, by the way. So if you scroll down, they're in the workbook. All or nothing thinking, overgeneralization, discounting the positives, jumping to conclusions, and so on. So look at this list for a second, everybody. Which one's your favorite? Like, which one's your go-to? For me, I have like top 8 out of 10 here, but my thought is, number 7, emotional reasoning. A lot of times I think I'm a bad person. Like, oh, I must be a bad person if I forgot to call this person back. Like that means I must, like, I forgot, so I'm feeling terrible and I must be bad, right? That's like emotional reasoning. So I feel like a loser, so I must be one, right? So those are super not connected, but yet our mind connects those. So know those exist, right? And so I want to take you through the 6 mistakes that overwhelmed managers make, right? So here's where we go as a natural progression based on how we think, being negative. So these don't sound very good, right? But you can write these down. These are also ways you can be in the workbook. Too much fear to get the best of intentions, right? If we're feeling scattered or fear or avoiding the fear, I work a lot with emotions, right? That's kind of my bread and butter here. then we aren't able to tackle whatever's ahead of us because we're too focused on the fear. It takes us out of being present. But the key is we have to learn how to be with our fear, right? So overwhelmed managers do this. Overwhelmed managers are too submissive. They might be talking too much in the weeds, too flustered, or too silent, right? So which one of those is your go-to, right? Remember, we're trying to like just identify these in objective ways so that we can shift them, right? So which of those mistakes do you fall into? And emotional intelligence is this top skill, by the way, for this navigating negativity. As you'll notice, everything we're talking about, it's not rocket science, right? But the key is, how do we do it? If we all did this, we'd be living our dreams. We'd be doing all the cool stuff we've set out to do in the world and not have any issues. And the reality is we all get stuck. We all have these belief systems or ways that we aren't necessarily thriving as impactfully as we could. So this research came out about 25 years ago, EQ. This is Daniel Goleman. I put the definition of emotional intelligence up here because I really do think of it as wealth, like wealthy states of being. It's defined as knowing one's internal states, preferences, resources, and intuitions. And if you're wondering like, well, why do I need to know that? Check out this yellow box, because what happens, as you may have known, the last time you felt triggered, right? When was the last time you felt like you were up in arms about something or wanting to run under a rock? Our emotional brain is so hardwired in us, in that primal brain. It's 400 times faster than the logical brain for responding. It's like fight or flight, boom, I'm going to run. The tiger's coming. So this is why we have to kind of understand our emotions. Otherwise, they do get the best of us. And the thought can be triggering those emotions, and the emotions can be triggering thoughts. So the key is to get in front of the thoughts, which are the unconscious thoughts that we can make conscious and shift and do things differently. Who's picking up what I'm laying down, right? So let's talk about what to do then as an impactful leader. Okay, we now know what was happening when we aren't feeling impactful. What do we feel like when we're wanting to be impactful? On the right side here, this is in the workbook, you can see the little model of Goleman's EI. So these 4 boxes, self-awareness at the orange box is the beginning, and you can see these kind of follow along in the 6 traits for navigating negativity. So the first and foremost foundation is self-awareness. How do I feel maybe before the start of a conversation? And we're going to talk about that in a moment because I've got a big tool for you to use. Self-management, meaning how do I regulate myself? How do I not blow up in front of this person or run away or hold it against them for the next month? Social awareness. How do you read the room? How do you respond to people, right? You could actually know exactly what's happening because you're that trained in your own awareness and responding to other emotions. Like that's where we're going. And that's what's impactful, is when you can do that. Relationships. So how do you respond to someone in the heat of a moment when maybe someone puts you on the spot, or you're on the spot in a meeting, or you don't want to engage with this person, and yet here you are face to face with someone in the hallway or an email that you need to respond to, and you have no idea where to start. All of these things are really important. And also communication, number 5. How are you communicating? And empathy and vision is number 6. So can you put yourself in someone's shoes and really relate? Can you cultivate a practice or feeling of gratitude, even if that person rubs you the wrong way? Like, what are you appreciating about that and learning from in the moment? All of these things are huge. And if you don't increase these EQ skills, what happens? We fall back into these patterns that are in the world of that overwhelmed manager. So if you are in touch with your depth of emotions, you get to go to all of these places that I think are really, really incredible. And then this last tool I want to give you today, before we get to the contest, is the 5 emotions, the 5 alive feelings, as I call them. So please, please, please write these down on a piece of paper or in the notebook. But there are 5 alive feelings, and this is from the Wright Graduate University, where I studied and got my master's in transformational leadership and coaching, where we work with 5 feelings. And here they are: fear, hurt, sadness, anger, joy. Fear, hurt, sadness, anger, joy. There's no order. There's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad. I know you're already probably thinking that if these are new. And the idea is that if you just name one of these 5 and you stick to these 5, and you maybe name it out loud, or you name it to yourself at first, what happens when we name a feeling? We drop into our bodies and we can understand and discover how we're feeling in the moment. But it might take some time because this is a skill. right? If you're not used to doing this maybe once a day, then you've got work to do. And that's great, because this is a skill not a lot of people know about. And you think of kids, right? Like, they're great at this. I'm angry, I'm hurt, like, they're great at this. So use them as your model if you've got any kids at home. And just right now, type into the chat, what is a feeling that you're feeling right now? And you might have one or two: fear, hurt, joy, sadness, or anger. Just go ahead and type them into the chat. Some joy, woohoo, I'm feeling joy too. And I'm feeling fear because I only have 2 minutes. So it's like, oh, fear and joy together. They go together a lot sometimes. So we're just excited to share all of this. And again, the contest is starting today, but I want to bring up one person here who, every day I'll speak about a client who I think did remarkably well with results. And even we might even have a few live here through the course of our week. So Joy was a CFO, and she took a pause to really be with her daughter. But she came to us from a pharma company. She felt tired. She was doing all the things that were basically letting the negativity run wild. She felt like disconnected and disengaged, and she started doing things differently. So what she started doing was naming those feelings, right? Doing those differently. She noticed and discovered, like, wow, you know what? I am in fear a lot, and I don't know why. And then she just kind of was curious about that and decided she was just letting her thoughts and those cognitive distortions run the show. So what we did was Joy joined our executive leadership accelerator, and she came out on the other side of that in a whole nother way. So she ended up having a deeper relationship with her daughter. She found a new she found a new role doing consulting work, but basically aligned differently than she was before, so that she could do and keep doing the things she was really good at, but in a way that felt really sustained and fulfilled. So give it up for Joy. And she's not here today, but I think, she's a great example of just maybe being tired of like deciding what to do differently, and then taking action, getting her dream job, which she got after her unpaid leave. All right, and that brings us to the end. So contest launched. I want to show you where this is in our Facebook group. So again, if you're not in the Facebook group, you can join us. Just answer a couple questions, and here's the link again. But if you scroll down here, and there's a guide, but this is the post. So call to action for today, day 1, is to snap a picture of your pause ritual. So what do you like to do to kind of get you into that maybe vision mode or rest and digest mode, to get out of negativity? Like, what is it that you do? Maybe you're in a favorite part of your house or a walk. Take a picture, or if you've got one, post it and tell us why that's so important for you. Maybe it's why it's your go-to. And then the third one is, if there's other folks who've posted, comment on at least 3 other leaders' posts, right? Just say that looks awesome, or enjoy it if it resonates with you, or maybe, we're supporting each other. And that's what we do in this community of leaders, is to know that we've got each other's backs and no one can do it alone. Awesome. All right. So let me hear from you. I'm going to stop the share here, and we did it. What is your biggest takeaway from today? Go ahead and type it into the chat. What's your biggest takeaway from today? I'm curious what comes up for you. And maybe it was the 5 feelings. Maybe it was learning about one of these negative emotions or loss aversion. What comes up for you? Because this is us bringing it home, like kind of applying what we've learned. It's one thing to read a book, right? But if you don't apply it, it just goes in one ear, out the other. That's what knowledge is. It goes in out one ear, one out the other, unless we're actually experientially doing things in our life that are different. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for being here. I hope this was helpful for you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The recording will be in the Facebook group under guides. So it's under the Masterclass guides, and it will be day 1 recording, okay? If you need it and you need to go back and watch it, or if you know anyone else who wants to join us, it's not too late. You can send them the Masterclass link, which is pages.masterclass.com, or sorry, pages.rachelomera.com. Pages, can't type. And they can come on and join us tomorrow, or watch the recording today. All right, here's the link if you need it. And 5 feelings is most resonant. Yeah, I love it. Awesome. All right, everyone.